Hey everybody, today on Dungeon Talk, we're going to be talking about villains. Those evil, nasty bad guys that are so epic they make your campaign the best campaign ever. Or they're really two-dimensional and they just suck and nobody cares and nobody wants to play your games anymore. Hopefully that doesn't happen to you. But if it has, I'm going to help bail you out. I've got 30 something years worth of experience in running role playing games, and one thing that I found is instead of making a storyline in your head, coming up with some cool maps and some traps and things like that, whether it's for the entire campaign or whether it's just for a one shot or a side quest, the worst thing you can do is start plotting the storyline and everything up front. You may have something going on in the back of your head, and that's fine. You can adapt that into the process at some point. But I'm going to tell you right now, the best thing to do to have a great campaign or great one-shot adventure is to come up with the villain first. Don't go looking through the monster manual, flipping through page to page, going, look, here's a vampire. Yeah, I'm going to use vampire. That's going to be my... I mean, that's okay. It works if you're, short on prep time. You need to come up with something really quick. But the best way to do it is to start off with an idea of what you want your villain to be like. The main thing you need to avoid is making a two-dimensional villain. That's like the worst thing you can do. How do you give your villain more substance? Well, it's easy. First and foremost, give them goals. Give them a reason to be where they are and to be doing what they're doing. Give them some kind of purpose, some sort of end game. And what I like to do a lot of times is give them flaws. It could be, a physical deformity or something. It could be some, weird mental thing. Maybe they see this invisible gray alligator that flies that nobody else can see. Okay, I was really stretching for that. But anyway, come up with something that makes them more than just a two-dimensional, NPC that's a bad guy. The main thing I try to do is give them some sort of humanity, even if they're not a humanoid. You can go with your regular tropes, like the Goblin King or the evil necromancer, the ancient red dragon, whatever. But give them some sort of humanity. Give them something that makes them come alive and just stand out. Like I said, give them a purpose and give them goals. Give them, don't just make a monster and set him as the boss guy and the Lost Caverns, set up to fight your adventurers. Give them a reason to be there. Give them something that says, hey, I may not even just be like this evil, SOB. I might be just misguided and something really bad happened to me at some point and I went down the wrong path, and I can be turned. I don't have to go this way. If somebody could show me what I'm doing is really evil, because a lot of times bad guys in real life don't realize they're the bad guys. They think they are the good guys, and they think they're standing up for something, whether it's revenge or just some purpose. Something happened to them that just kind of messed with their brain a little bit and gave them the wrong ideas about things. So the best way to come up with a good bad guy is just start thinking about, why is he there? Why is he doing what he's doing? If it's a band of thieves out in the woods and they're sneaking into town at night and stealing stuff, from the people in town, why? Is it just they're lazy and they don't want to work for a living? Because robbing people is actually can be kind of a chore, and then you're worried about getting caught and going to jail and things like that. So and come up with a reason. Maybe they had a little homestead somewhere and they didn't own the land, and the king found out that they were staying there and kicked them off the land, or just whatever. And now they have sort of this little anarchist uprising against the law of the land. And there's many ways that you can go about doing this, but give your villains some human aspects, some kind of feeling. Make them really passionate about something. Like, so one of the things I love to do is give them flaws, and it could be, like I said, it could be something that's like they're blind, or they're missing a limb or something, just got a big scar down their face, or it could be an emotional or mental flaw. Just they've been wronged and they don't see the error of their ways. And it's also another point I want to get to is every bad guy in your adventure, even the main villain, the be all end all villain at the end of your campaign, you don't necessarily have to defeat them in the sense of combat. You don't have to kill them. You don't have to bring them to justice and turn them over to the authorities. You can have it to where they negotiate. Your character should have several different ways of dealing with the bad guy other than just straight up murdering. One of my favorite, kind of more of an NPC, but she wasn't like the main villain of my campaign, but Lana Pennymoon was sort of an antagonist that I kept going through one of my campaigns, and everybody loved it. It was she was not, she wasn't like a rogue or magic user or anything. She had no classes. She was just a regular NPC, and just going straight up and wanting to fight her and kill her would not have been a problem. The player characters could have, at any point, if they had decided to, they could have defeated her in physical combat at first level. But the thing that made her so dangerous was she owned a brothel, and every one of her little rooms that she had prostitutes in and stuff, she had little peek holes that she would go around and listen in on conversations, and all the people that worked for her were very loyal to her, so they would tell her everything. And her greatest flaw was just that she was so hungry for information and for learning things about people of the town that she'd almost go to any point to get that information. And she was a very expensive. She ran a very expensive brothel, so she had like nobles and knights, magistrates, very important people come in, and that's where she became dangerous, because she had dirt on those guys. Now, when the PCs went in one time and tried to strong arm her, she put them in their place real quick, because basically she's like, okay, whatever, I'm sorry, I won't do it anymore. And then the PCs leave, and then as soon as they leave, she contacts the mayor and reminds him of what he did, a few nights ago with one of her prostitutes, and he doesn't want to get that out because he's married and he has children and he's got a reputation to uphold. So she basically blackmails him and says, take care of these guys. I don't want them nosing around in my brothel anymore. So that's where her sort of evil side and her the danger of her being a villain comes into play. It's not her physical aspect, it's the thing she knows and her resources. That was, like I said, a lot of people, I've used her a few times, but in that particular campaign, a lot of people were like, man, I loved her. I thought that was just a great villain. And she was remembered more in that campaign than my overall villain, my be all end all uh, beholder is what it was. But um, things like that. That's what you need to come up with. Come up with your villain first. Come up with the reason for them to be doing what they're doing. And leave options. Don't have it to where your players are just going to go straight in and fight this thing. By giving it, emotions and certain, ticks or flaws, it allows you to bring in a villain that could easily wipe out your characters at lower levels. It allows you to bring the villain in early and introduce them early because your characters aren't trying to fight them. Maybe they don't even realize it's the main villain or even a bad guy up front. But you can keep using it over and over as an NPC, and then when it comes down to go time at the end of your campaign, maybe they have some sort of attachment to him and they don't want to kill him. Maybe they want to, try to bring this villain around and show them the error of the ways and show them, like, look, you can do it this way. We don't have to be at odds on this. Also, you could have the bad guy try to trick the players and get them to even join with them. You're my son. I am your father. Search your feelings, it be true. But like I said, just give them some humanity. You can use the same old tropes that have been used over and over, like the Goblin King, the Evil Necromancer, the Ancient Red Dragon. You can use those, but just do something special with them. Give them something that normally they don't have. Not something you just open up the monster manual and look and say, okay, there it is, there's my bad guy. Give it, just feelings and just make it, go off in a rage all the, for little things or whatever, just, a bad temperament. Make it somebody that's not powerful. Just a little old blind man who's been treated badly and was a beggar and then got kicked out of the city for whatever reason, stealing something or whatever, and just, started plotting against everybody, got a few minions together, and, it's not really him that's doing it, it's his minions. And maybe if you talk to him and get him into a situation to where he can call off his minions, that's just as good as defeating him as and killing him. So just I like to use regular Joes, just plain old humans or humanoids. Occasionally I'll use some sort of monster, but I just like to use things that you wouldn't normally think of as the main bad guy. Just somebody who's gone down the wrong path and may need to be killed and may not. But that's basically it. Just don't make two-dimensional villains. Give them reasons and goals and just things to strive for. Don't have it to where they've reached their goal yet. Kind of make it as you're going through the campaign, he is also sort of leveling up and he's getting his minions together. He's plotting along the way, and that could be the end game for the player characters, is to stop him from doing whatever he's trying to do as opposed to stopping him after he's already done it. But just some things to think about. Just make a 3-dimensional, 4th-dimensional. I don't know what that means. He can pass through the 4th wall. Knows what you're doing. He knows he's in a game. It's like Deadpool. He's invincible because he knows he's a evil villain that's going to live forever. Just whatever. Come up with ideas from movies, from books. Combine bad guys. You don't even have to just go one direction. You can take your favorite bad guy from your favorite movie and your favorite bad guy from the last novel you read. Just mix them together. Just Make them memorable. Make them something more than just blah. I found this in the monster manual and it worked out. Hopefully that'll help you out. And like I said, get your inspiration from anywhere. It doesn't matter. The Land of Penny Moon that I was telling you about was basically the idea came from Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. You know, but nobody even thought about that really, because that's not. I didn't totally steal the idea. I just used the idea and made it my own. So there you go. Get some evil villains out there and try to kill your players with. No, try to kill your player characters with them. Who's the villain now? Okay, that was dumb.